Okay, let's jump in. I think we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Hey, everybody, good to see you guys. All right, a very warm welcome. This is our third part of our third session of three, part 3 of 3. This is High Holidays Unpacked, and the goal in the series, as you know, is to really connect with the energy of the holidays. And as I said it before the first session, as we prepare for something, that's how we experience it. So when we get locked into something, when we get connected with something, then as it comes around, it certainly feels a little bit more a little bit more rich and meaningful, etc. So I hope that your Rosh Hashanah was a little bit more meaningful with the preparation that we did together. I hope your Yom Kippur was also a little bit more meaningful with the preparation that we did. And the goal tonight is to get our Sukkot and Simchat Torah also a little bit more joyous, a little bit more celebratory with that in mind. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Amy and Mike. Tonight's class, in addition to all of our core sponsors that we mentioned before, mentioned in the email, tonight's class is sponsored by Amy and Mike Siegel in memory of Amy's mom, who recently passed away less than 2 weeks ago. Wishing you condolences and blessings and life. We wish, of course, life and health. And I'm going to tie your mom into tonight's class a little bit, into the themes that we're speaking of. Chaya Sarah Bas Yaakov. This class is dedicated for her aliyat neshama, to the elevation of her soul. And indeed, it should be all of the learning that we do together and all the inspiration that we get should indeed be to help uplift her neshama. So let's make sure you guys have copies. Okay. So the focus of tonight's session is on the upcoming holiday of Sukkot, which also includes at the end Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. So let's kind of first map out and understand the dynamic of this holiday season and the nature of the upcoming holidays. So number one, the month of Tishrei, which is the month that we're in. Today is, of course, the 11th day of the month of Tishrei. Yom Kippur is always the 10th, so it's the day after Yom Kippur. The month of Tishrei is chock full of holidays. It is a month that is filled with moments of high energy. Rosh Hashanah, 10 days of repentance, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah. It's like, it's either a holiday or right before or right after a holiday. It's like a month filled with energy. And along those lines, within that context, there's two different types of energy. We have the first half of the month, which is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and that is the energy of awe, days of awe. Yamim Noraim, days of awe, days of a sense of God's awesomeness and might and power, days of judgment, etc. And then you have the second half of the month, which is punctuated by the holiday of Sukkot, which is more about the joy. It's Zman Simchatenu. In our liturgy, we literally call it the festival or the season, the time of our rejoicing. Although every holiday is a time to rejoice, but Sukkot specifically is about rejoicing. And it's interesting that you come from days that are very serious and very, maybe just to use a phrase, very heavy days. And you segue into this period of immense joy. And the question is, how does one flow from the other? And so on a very simple level, it actually flows perfectly. Because after all of the work that we did during the month of El, in preparing ourselves for Rosh Hashanah, and then Rosh Hashanah, and then Yom Kippur, 10 days of repentance, then Yom Kippur. So after all of the work that we've done, and all of the change, and all of the personal modifications, as it were, that we've made, so now it's time to rejoice. Now it's time to celebrate. Now it's time to really, step into our new character and step into our new selves for this year and really be in a state of simcha. There's also the sense that after the judgment is concluded, is sealed on Yom Kippur, we're so confident that we can step into that the days after in a state of celebration. We know that we've been judged for the good, and we know that blessings are heading our way. I will tell you along these lines, somebody in the synagogue in Shul told me a beautiful idea. There's a tradition that Erev Yom Kippur, we eat a lot. You guys familiar with this tradition? You're supposed to actually eat like almost double the day before Yom Kippur. And it's like, then it says, if you eat a lot Erev Yom Kippur, then it's like you fasted, or it's you fasted 2 days. It's like this whole thing. Anyway, you're supposed to eat a lot. And it's interesting. I personally don't like, overeating before a fast. I feel like that's not necessarily the best for me. It's not the best strategy to go into a fast, because you kind of feel like, tried it before, you just feel like a little, I don't know, like you ate too much going into a fast. It just doesn't feel comfortable. Nonetheless, the custom is to eat and to be specifically aware of eating before the fast. Now, you could say it's just good advice, eat before a fast, but there's something beautiful that somebody shared with me, and that is, imagine you had a very important court case, like a very serious judgment day. How would you be feeling? Like life and death, like very, very serious. What would be the mood?
Anxiety.
Now, would you be able to eat or not? Typically. No. Well, a lot of people wouldn't be able to eat. Yeah. When you're very nervous about something, you might not be able to eat. And yet, what do we do Erev Yom Kippur? We eat. Why? Because we're not nervous. Because who's the judge? Hashem. And Hashem is not just our judge, not just the king, not just our king and the judge, but Hashem is our Father as well. And thus, when we go into Yom Kippur, it's with a state of, even though it's serious and it's awe-filled, but there's a sense of security as well, with Hashem being the one in control. If Hashem is driving this ship, as it were, if he's captaining the ship, then I feel a little bit more comfortable in the journey. Anyway, but after Yom Kippur, we're so confident that the judgment has been passed for the good that we celebrate. We celebrate for an 8-day holiday of Sukkot. It's actually in the diaspora, it's 9 days. And the culmination of the celebration, the final day of Sukkot, is called Simchat Torah. And what happens on Simchat Torah? We dance, we party, we say l'chaim, we take out the Torahs, and we dance. What's interesting is that it's not a biblical mitzvah. Torah doesn't say take out the Torahs and Simchat Torah and dance. It's a custom. It's a minhag. It's a custom. Now, where's the first instance that this custom is stated? Let's look inside. Eve, if you don't mind, please read. Actually, hold on 1 second. Let me pull up the PDF on the screen. This will be text number 1, right on that first page, which is marked as 192. But just give me a very quick moment so that I can.
Is it in our booklets? Is this Torah studies that you guys are reading out of?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. It is in those booklets. Give me a quick second as I pull it up to have the PDF over here. Okay, 193. All right. Here we go. Now everyone is literally on the same page. Okay, so just a clarification of where this is from. The source, text number 1, is from Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, the acronym of which spells he's known by his acronym of his name, known as the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserlis with an Aleph, Ramah, and he is the Ashkenazic authority of Jewish law. So the Mechaber, which means the author of the Shulchan Aruch of the Code of Jewish Law, was Rabbi Yosef Karo, who was a Sephardi. So that becomes the source of, or the authoritative document of Jewish law for Sephardim. And then the Ramah wrote glosses. He wrote comments modifying certain things, and that was for the Ashkenazi community. So Ashkenazim pretty much follow the Ramah, and he writes about Simchat Torah. Take it away, please.
We call the last day Simchat Torah because we rejoice and feast on the occasion of completing the Torah. It is also our custom in these countries to remove all the Torah scrolls from the ark on the evening and morning of Simchat Torah and chant songs of praise, each location in accordance with its local custom. It is also customary to circle the central Torah reading table in the synagogue while holding the Torah scrolls as we do during Sukkot with the palm frond. All of this is to express joy.
So thank you. So the Rama writes basically what we've all experienced, where you take out the Torahs and you dance around the bima. You dance around the bima is not a BMW from Boston. Take out the bima. No, it's sort of right. It could. All right. You guys are with me. And yeah. I apologize for all the bad jokes. Always, it's an ongoing apology. Anyway, so you go. The bima is a platform where you read the Torah. So you dance around the platform. You dance around where the Torah is usually read, and it's a day of great joy. Now, again, this is a Jewish custom that it does not have an ancient source. It doesn't have an ancient scriptural source, not even a Talmudic source, not a rabbinic law even. It's a custom that Jewish communities have adopted over the years. Now, I have a quote here that I wish to read to you. You don't have it. I have it. This is from the year 1663. And a fellow whose name was Samuel Pepys, Pepys. I don't know, Pepys.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it works. He was a famous English diarist. He visited a synagogue in London on Simchat Torah, October 14th, 1663. And here's what he writes. This is a direct quote. You ready? To see the disorder, laughing, sporting, and no attention, but confusion in all their service, more like brutes than people knowing the true God, would make a man forswear ever seeing them more. And indeed, I never did see so much or could have imagined there had been any religion in the whole world so absurdly performed as this. He saw people after L'chaim dancing with the Torah, and you walk into synagogue on Simchat Torah, place is upside down. You're like, yeah, this is, it's absurd. It's a custom. It's not going to be. Some things you can't write down. Some things when you know. That's sort of. He writes, away thence with my mind strongly disturbed with them by coach, and set down my wife in Westminster Hall, and I to Whitehall. Basically, he left because it was too crazy. Anyway, so that's one man's experience from 1663. To me, all that means, here's what I take from that, is that this custom of revelry, shall we say, it's not new. It's not like a new age custom from the 20th century, or it's not like, the kids in 1663, they were getting a little wild as well back then. Now, it could be everything's relative. So relative to England, 1663, to me, it feels very buttoned up. England, 1663, what do I know? I wasn't around then. But it's definitely something that has a little bit of a looser feel to it. So the question that we'll ask, and this is what we're going to focus on today, is what is the joy? What is the joy? What is the joy of Simchat Torah all about? So according to text 1, right, that Eve read, what is the reason for the joy? What's going on here? Look at that opening line. We call the last day Simchat Torah because we rejoice and feast on what? The occasion of
The completion.
Torah. Yeah. So that's the key phrase. Gemara shel Torah. Gemara shel Torah. It means that completing the Torah. So basically, the rejoicing is the fact that we finished the annual. Let me just say it in simple terms: that we conclude the annual cycle of reading the Torah. We start reading the Torah in the new year, and as we know, the Torah is divided into, depending on leap years and double portions or whatever, somewhere 53, 54 Torah portions, right? So you divide these Torah portions throughout all the weeks, the weeks of the year. Every week has its Torah portion. And over the course of the year, you finish the Torah. And when do you conclude it formally? On the last day of Sukkot, aka on the day of Simchat Torah. And the day of Simchat Torah, you finish the 5 books of Moses. You read the very last Torah portion, which talks about Moses' final blessing before he passes at the age of 120. His final blessing to the tribes, and we read about his passing, and that's how we conclude the Torah on Simchat Torah. And then we start it again. We read the first little bit from Bereshis, from the beginning, from Genesis. The first, not the full Torah portion, but the first little bit. So we finish the final Torah portion, and we begin the new Torah. We begin again from the beginning of the Torah with the opening the opening account of creation. Now, the question is, and this is a question that you might have had in the past. I mean, we take it for granted, but it's always good to understand the source of things. The question that we might ask is, where does this custom or the tradition of cycling through the Torah portions on an annual basis, where does it come from? When did it begin? Very interesting. The Talmud discusses it. Jake, if you don't mind, please read text number 2. This is Tractate Bava Kama, and the Talmud here discusses why the source of the custom to read the Torah portion, to read the Torah every week, and really multiple times a week, as we'll discuss in a moment. Let me get this up on the screen, and this is text 2. Please take it away.
We read in a Talmudic text, verse states, they journeyed for 3 days in the desert and found no water. The metaphoric interpreter
refers to the Torah.
interpreted it like this. Water refers to the Torah, as the verse states, Torah. All who thirst go to water. Metaphorically, the passage is saying that they grew weary because they journeyed for 3 days without Torah. The prophets among them arose and instituted that the Torah should be read every week on Shabbat. They should pause on Sunday and read it again on Monday. They should pause on Tuesday and Wednesday, read it on Thursday, and pause on Friday. Thus, 3 days would never pass without Torah study.
Thank you. This is a very important text, because it explains something that is so embedded in our lifestyle, but without learning this Talmudic piece, without being familiar with it, we might not know where it comes from. So just to recap this, there's a verse in Exodus that says that the Jewish people, this is shortly after the Exodus, that they traveled for 3 days in the desert and found no water. Water is always a euphemism for Torah. In fact, in Tanya, he explains what's the connection with water and Torah. Just like water always travels downward, Torah likewise traveled from God to us, right? It originates in a spiritual realm and it comes down to earth, speaking about physical things. It's really divine wisdom in talking about, oxen goring other oxen, other mundane items like that. Now, so just like water goes down, Torah goes down. It says they journeyed for 3 days and found no water, and that's not a good thing. You don't want to go 3 days without water. In other words, you don't want to go 3 days without a public, the Torah, so we got to do every day, but without a public reading of Torah, we don't want to go 3 days. So Shabbos for sure. I know I'm going in a little bit of a different, that's what he said. So Shabbos for sure. Shabbos morning, we read the Torah. Then Sunday, you pause. You don't have to do it every day. Plus NFL, football, right? It's like you got, right? That's kidding. So, or not. So Sunday, you don't do a public reading of the Torah. Monday is a great day to do that again. So Monday morning in synagogues, you read a little bit of the upcoming Torah portion that you're going to read in synagogue the upcoming Saturday. That Monday, you'll read the first little bit of it. You do 3 very quick readings. You take a break Tuesday and Wednesday, you go again Thursday, you take a break Friday, and you go again Shabbos, you read the whole Torah portion. And thus, this is the cycle that's been established. So every week, you're reading a Torah portion, Monday, Thursday, and then Shabbos, the full thing. You read it publicly on those days. You also read it Shabbos afternoon. You read the first part of the next week. But we won't get into that. The point is like this. This is an annual cycle. And the question is, when does the annual cycle begin? I already explained before that it begins in the new year. You begin the annual cycle shortly after Rosh Hashanah, and it ends with the next year. Here's the question, though. Why don't we begin reading the Torah from the beginning on Rosh Hashanah? Why do we wait Simchat Torah? Why are we finishing it at Simchat Torah, which is 3 weeks into the new year? You guys with me on the question? In other words, Simchat Torah is coming up in a week and a half. The new year started, 5783 started a few weeks ago. It's the 11th day of the month. Why don't we start the Torah on the first day of the year? We should start Bereshis, Rosh Hashanah. Let's get that going.
Wouldn't the bigger question be why not Shavuos?
We're going to ask that. Yeah. We're going to get into that question tonight. This is like the softer question, and that's going to be the real knacker So hold on to that thought. So the initial question we're going to ask is why don't we start, if it's an annual cycle and we're starting in the new year, so start it on New Year's. And so the answer that's given is because, well, yeah, we're busy. Shun is like, Day of Judgment. There's like a lot of stuff going on. So we have a Torah reading, but to like kick off the new year and start it's like, let's wait till the holidays are wrapped. So therefore we do it the last day of the holiday, like the last day of Sukkot or Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah, the last day of the holiday season, right? At the end of the holidays, that's when we conclude and then we begin. And then so we wait kind of till the holidays end. And then that's when the cycle concludes and picks back up. That's kind of the basic answer that's given. Okay. Makes sense? Sort of. So we have now, hopefully we've established two things. And again, there's a bit of a narrative here that I just want to make sure makes sense. So,
What you discussed in Kabbalah about cyclical time.
yes. And we're going to focus on that as a major theme, along with the question about Shavuot. Both of these themes, we will focus on heavily the idea of cycles, of ending and completing, and how the end and the beginning are really intertwined. We'll get into that and really kind of reframe that entire understanding, as you'll see in a second. So just to take you again through the narrative quickly. So we started off by saying that the first half of the month of Tishrei is serious. The second half is filled with joy. Then we talked about the idea that Simchat Torah is called Simchat Torah. It's a celebration of Torah because we, as the Ramah said, we're celebrating the completion of our annual Torah reading cycle on that day, and we started again. And so thus we rejoice, we take out the Torahs, we dance. I read the reading from 1660, whatever it was, with the guy from England who's like, this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. This is like way too intense. What kind of religion is this? But nonetheless, that seems to be kind of the energy of the day. It's a lot of revelry and a lot of celebrating. We talked about the fact that Torah is divided kind of, we read Torah on a regular basis publicly, making sure not to go 3 days without a Torah reading. So we have Monday, Thursday, and Saturdays of reading Torah, and how that is completed in a year. I asked the question, why don't we start that right at the beginning of the new year? And we said, well, okay, we're going to wait till kind of the major holidays are kind of wrapping up. And then at the end of the holiday, that's when we wrap, and that's when we begin. Good. 4 questions. 4 questions. Number 1, why is this night different than all? No, Mike was like, he's going to go there. I saw your face. Yeah, you also, okay. No, so I have 4 questions. Okay, question number 1. Question number 1 is about the joy. When you think about it, Simchat Torah we described as a day of intense joy, intense celebration. What's happening? You're finishing the Torah and you start it again. Okay? How many times do we do that? Once a year. We've all experienced that many times. And so why is there such intense joy? We're just doing it again. It's not like, you with me on the question? It's like, I've always noted something interesting about the difference between kids and adults. Think about it this way. Kids, adults, if you read a book once, you're pretty much good to go, right? How many times are you going to go back to a book? I mean, unless it's a very special book, you're not going to go back to a book. Kids, kidding me?
Same story.
Oh, yeah, they love the same story. Doesn't matter they know how it ends. There's something comforting almost about the story, right? It's like a whole different, I feel like there's a different objective. Like adults are like, tell me something new. And kids are like, give me something familiar.
Favorite part.
Right? Yeah, it's my favorite part. Like I want to hear it. Like I want that. I remember, I don't know why this triggered a memory, such a random memory, but I'll share it with you because we share random memories here. I remember we used to driving home from school. This was in Pittsburgh, Squirrel Hill community. There was a road that had it was an up and a down and an up or something. It had like a little bit of like a slight little, I don't know, whatever you call it, like up and down. And I remember in the car, I don't know if it was the age, the car, the speed, the driver, I don't know who it was. I don't know what it was, but it like your stomach, you felt like something like Yeah, but it was good. It was it was like, oh, like, I don't know. It sounds weird now that I'm saying this. Sorry. I don't mean to freaking creep anybody. Yeah. No, but it was like, huh? Sort of, right? But not like a scary thing. It was just like a, and I love that. I love that drive. By the way, just so you know, subsequently, don't think I haven't tried it. Driving myself back in Pittsburgh, I don't get the feeling. No, you can't get the feeling. So that's why it's some magical combination of the speed, the car, the age. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I need like an extender, somehow to drive with the back seat. Right. It's like, ask somebody, can you drive me on that street? And if it doesn't work, change the speed. Let's do it a few times. See if we can capture that moment.
Isn't part of it just perspective of what was a big film then?
Yes.
It's really just
So my wife tells me, so Leia says, she used to visit her grandmother in Montreal. And she remembers playing in the front yard. It's a big front yard. Then she went back. She grew up. So she was actually born in Montreal. Then she grew up in South Africa. And then she went back for seminary in Montreal. She went to her grandmother's house and it was like, it's very small. It's like really super tiny space. It wasn't even a front yard. It was just like a very small place. So kids and adults. Kids love the same story. Adults are like, I read it already. Let me get a new book. Like I know what it says. I don't need this anymore. I'm done. Let me put it in one of those little, what are those called? The treehouse book libraries. They have one right here on iPod. Like put a thing in, read, keep books recycling. Anyway, the point is like this. Why are we getting so excited about the Torah? We did it a bunch of times. We know what it says. There's no sport. Are we kids? And it's like that hill that we just can't get enough of. That was my connection in my head, right? Is it like the kids in the book and it's exciting to read the same book? Maybe, but such joy, such like unbridled excitement. We need more of an explanation to understand what's really behind the joy of Simchat Torah. That's question number one. 4 questions. Question number 2. Why, this is David's question. Why don't we start the Torah and conclude the Torah, or conclude the Torah and start the Torah, not in the beginning of the new year? And we say it's New Year, but okay, not New Year, a few weeks later, whatever. But why don't we do it on Shavuot, on Shavuos? We have a holiday that's all about the anniversary of the giving of the Torah at Sinai. Why don't we end the Torah then, or start the Torah then and end it on that day? By the way, Shavuos is usually around, what is it, May-ish? It's 7 weeks after Passover. So whatever, May, June, depending on the year, right? So why don't we celebrate, why don't we set the cycle of Torah portions? Why don't we start and conclude the annual cycle of reading on Shavuot? That seems like a very apropos time. Question number 3. Why is it that historically or traditionally or customarily, everyone celebrates with a Torah on Simchat Torah, even someone who's not the greatest scholar? You would think that what's the celebration? The celebration is about scholarship, studying the whole Torah over the year. Well, do we take, I think tomorrow, aren't the Nobel Prizes being announced tomorrow? Is that happening? Am I wrong? Some already announced? I think literature or, right, what's today? Oh, okay.
Chemistry and physics have already been announced.
Got it. Okay. All right. So look at that. I'm like a few days off. But anyway, so certain things are, huh?
Yom Kippur will do that too.
Yeah, Yom Kippur. It's like Yom Kippur brain. No, but the point is that certain fields, who celebrates? The academics celebrate, academia, right? The ones that are into that study, into that field, celebrate. Hence the fact that I don't know when right? Mike's like, yeah, that's why you don't know, right? Right, college football style, like just like rafters cheering on the nominees, like who's gonna get the prize? Didn't Bob Dylan like reject it a few years ago? That was like a big snap. Yeah, remember that? Bob Dylan was given a Nobel Prize, yeah, in poetry, and he's like, I don't want it. Anyway, didn't Bob Dylan daven here one year? He did a few years ago, Yom Kippur. Look at that. It all comes back to the hill and Squirrel Hill. Anyway, so what's the point? The point is why? So Simchat Torah seems to be a day that who should celebrate? The scholars, the academics, the ones that have written books on Torah. It seems like a day to celebrate, scholarship. And yet we find that everyone celebrates. Of course, everyone studied Torah, but the question is, again, the answer is going to be better than the question. The question is, why not just the academics? And then the final question, which is actually a very good question, is if we're really celebrating the study of Torah and completing a cycle and starting it again, why don't we study Torah on Simchat Torah? What do? We keep the Torah closed up in its cover and we dance around. We crack it open a little. Yes, of course, we open it up to read the end and start the beginning again. But we don't have like great lectures and stuff. Lectures. Not happening on that day. Who's sober to talk about? Right? Who's giving lectures and deep philosophical ideas in Torah on Simchat Torah? We're dancing with our feet, and as opposed to using our heads, we're in our. It's all about the feet. What's going on here? 4 questions. Let me recap quickly. Question number one is why the intense joy? We do it every year. Same story. Question number 2, why this time of year? Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't matter. Why we should do it Shavuos time when we got the Torah. Question number 3, why does everyone celebrate? Why not just the scholars? Primarily the scholars. And question number 4 is why don't we have a scholarly celebration? Why do we simply dance while holding the Torahs? What does that mean? All right. To understand all of this, we're going to analyze a blessing that I think that I'm sure we're all familiar with, and that we might all take for granted. And the blessing is the Shehechianu blessing. The Shehechianu. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higiyanu, l'zman hazeh. We say this on special occasions. We say this on holidays, annual holidays. We say this on the occasion of buying a new home, eating a new fruit that we haven't eaten in a while in its season. Let's take a look at what the blessing actually means in the English so we have a good handle on what is going on. Joy, please read text number 3. This is from Rambam, from Maimonides, from his Laws of Blessings, chapter 10. He describes the Shehechianu blessing.
Our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this age.
Thank you. And so on a very simple level, we're thanking God for giving us the opportunity to celebrate this milestone, whatever it is. So on Passover, we say Shehechianu, thank you for allowing us to experience another Passover. And on Yom Kippur, we said it, beginning of the part of the service of Kol Nidre, we said the Shehechianu. We say it on Hanukkah, we say it on other occasions, and so this is the blessing, and this is what it means that we're thanking God for giving us the ability to reach this occasion. What's unique about Simchat Torah is that, as explained by the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Shneerson, when we say the Shehechianu on Simchat Torah, we're not just thanking God for the opportunity to celebrate another Simchat Torah, for bringing us, carrying us in life to this happy occasion, but rather, or in addition to that, where there's another meaning of the blessing. Text 4. Alex, please read text number 4.
Today, the Shehechianu blessing is not only for the festival, but also for the Torah.
So look what he writes. He says the blessing, Shehechianu blessing, is not just thanking God for being able to celebrate this holiday once again this year, but it's also for the Torah. We thank God for the Torah. In other words, it's a Shehechianu on the Torah itself. We don't typically say Shehechianu on the Torah. We say a blessing every morning for the study of Torah, but we don't say Shehechianu on the Torah. When do we do that? On Simchat Torah. Now, here's what's very unique about this blessing. Here's what's unique about the Shechianu. So typically you do Shechianu for one thing. Here you have it for two things. You have number one, the holiday of Simchat Torah and the Torah itself. We're saying Shechianu both for the holiday and the Torah itself. You with me on this? Number two, here's something else that's unique about this. We said before, we quoted the Ramah. The Ramah is the Ashkenazic halachic authority, and he said that we celebrate Simchat Torah, on the occasion of completing the Torah. That's what we celebrate the holiday. So if we put that idea and this new idea that we just read in text 4 together, so it turns out that we're saying Shechianu. Why? For the Torah. What about the Torah? For completing the Torah. That's weird. Since when do we say Shechianu when you finish something? You always say Shechianu when you start something. You with me on the question? I hope I didn't lose anyone in that little loop. So I'll do it one more time. Typically, Shechianu is said at the onset of something. When you start a holiday, when you buy a new home, when you eat a new fruit, not when you finish something. Simchat Torah is when you finish the Torah. You finish the cycle. You read the last Torah portion. In fact, again, if you just reference text number 1, right? What did the Ramah say? We call the last day Simchat Torah because we rejoice and feast on the occasion of completing the Torah. He says, what's the celebration? Because you complete the Torah. So 1 second. When you complete the Torah, you say Shechianu when you're done? When you say Shechianu when you're done with something. So what's the obvious answer? Not only are you done, you start it again. Right. So the obvious answer. So the question is, you finish the Torah. You don't say Shechianu when you're done. Oh, you're right. But you start the Torah again. And since you started the Torah, yes, now we're about to get into the cycle. So you start the Torah right away. And thus, that explains why the Shechianu is appropriate. This is text 5a. This is how the Rebbe explains it. But let's look at the wording very, very carefully. Mike, please read this, but give me a quick moment. Let me pull this up on the screen and share this with everyone. Okay, take it away, text 5a. And here the Rebbe explains that although we're finishing the Torah, we're also starting it again.
Though the celebration was established for the completing Torah, the ending is automatically tied to the beginning of the new. This is because our obligation to study is constant, and it is inconceivable for there to be a period of time when one does not study Torah. Therefore, as soon as we finish the Torah, we turn directly to the beginning with no break at all. So, we mentioned that before in our conversation, but the Ramah actually doesn't write that you start the Torah again. Maybe he does. Did he say that you start? He doesn't mention it, right? No, but we know what we do on Simchat Torah is we do start it again. And so the Rebbe kind of fills in the words and says, so we finish the Torah, but immediately the next thing you do as soon as you finish the Torah is you pull out another scroll and you start from the beginning, right? And this gets back to the circle idea, right? As soon as you finish the circle, you're right back to where you started again. And you keep on moving. You don't stop and say, okay, we'll take a break for a week or two. What kind of break? Immediately after finishing the Torah, you start it again. And thus the circle continues. So therefore, if you look, I said we're gonna look at this language. The Rebbe writes there in the middle line, like the third line down, he says, this is because our obligation to study Torah is constant. Constant means that there are no breaks. So it's not like we finished, we're going to take a break for what, and then start again. No, it's a constant cycle and recycling. Not recycling. Yeah, but it's a constant movement. It's continuous. But that itself leads to another question.
But isn't this no different than a seeing the end of the tractate?
Yeah, similar. Where we say at the end of when we've concluded tractate, we ask for a blessing that we should have the opportunity to finish more, and we start again, and we start other ones, right? Exactly. So it's about constantly cycling through and keeping the learning constant. But that raises another question. And this question that I'm going to ask now is going to be the key to unlocking all of these mysteries. And the last question I'm going to ask is like this. So if the Torah is constant, it's a constant cycle. You start, you finish, you start, you finish, you start, you finish. It keeps on moving round and round. So then why the Shechianu? If it's a constant cycle, if it constantly, you finish, you start, it's always moving. So then where's the Shechianu? We asked the question about the Shechianu at the end. We said, no, it's the beginning. Because as soon as you end, you begin. Well, then it sounds like it's constantly moving. It sounds like there's no big deal about the beginning. Similar to what we asked before. No big deal because it's constantly moving, constantly flowing. It's same old cycle moving, back around. So then why the Shechianu? That's the final question. And now we get to the big idea. The big idea is that on Simchat Torah, here's what we're really celebrating. We're celebrating completing a year of studying the Torah cycle, that Torah cycle. And we're celebrating, concluding a year of study on whatever level we were studying. And as we commence the Torah again, the implication is that our study is going to be on a much deeper level, a completely different paradigm. In other words, it is new. Even though we're meant to immediately follow the conclusion with a new beginning, but it's meant to be a new beginning that justifies the word new. And we're going to continue read text in a moment. We're going to read how the Rebbe articulates, but I'll just say it outside. The message for us, it's a very practical message, is that we've finished it. We've studied Torah this year. We could pat ourselves in the back, and we should. And there's a lot to celebrate. But what Simchat Torah really is about is the commitment to studying Torah this year as we restart the Torah again on a completely different level. When I say completely different, on a much deeper level, whatever relative to us is on another level. Adding other commentaries, looking at things, studying the Haftarah, whatever it is for you, it means studying on a different level, studying on a deeper level this year. So we don't, not to put down what we studied in the past, but we finished it. In other words, we're not meant to just do the same thing again, because that would not deserve a Shechianu. Shechianu happens when something is really new. And so on Simchat Torah, as we start the Torah, we say Shechianu. The previous Rebbe said it's on the Torah. What does that mean? Got to make it new. That's the same Torah. New, make it new. And new, make it NEW, right? So it's the same thing. Doesn't have to be. Study on a different level. Study on a deeper level. That's up to us. We got to make it new. Amy, you mind reading text 5b? All right, let me put this up on the screen. All right, thanks.
We must begin to learn the entire new day to the extent of this incomparable literary industry. This time is the reason for the two elements of Simchat Torah, rejoicing and reciting Shema. We rejoice and celebrate the having completed one day of understanding the Torah. We recite Shema to praise and thank God for the opportunity to begin the Torah and
Thank you. I love how the Rebbe frames it. The Ramah was writing about the joy, the rejoicing. The rejoicing is about what you did. But why the Shechianu? It's for what you're about to do. So you rejoice and you celebrate the past accomplishments. But the Shechianu that you say is a commitment to this year learning on a much deeper level. And since Torah, and the person say, well, I can't go any deeper. Torah is infinite. God is infinite. You can go deeper, right? All of us can go deeper, no matter how deep we studied, no matter how well we studied in the past year, in the past years, plural. There's always more to study. There's always more. There's always a way to study and on a much deeper level. Now, this answers our first two questions. Okay, so just let's make sure everything is tied up neatly with a bow and wrapping paper. I have a joke that I want to tell, but it's going to take us. Okay, all right. I got to hold myself back. All right, so I hear the word wrapping paper. I go immediately to it. Okay, so the first question was, why are we celebrating Simchat Torah? We do it every year. Why the joy? It's like the same book. It's not supposed to be the same book. That's the point. It's not supposed to be the same book. I mean, of course, it's the same book, but it's not meant to be experienced the same way. Every Simchat Torah is celebrating what we've done, rejoicing over what we've done, and being committed to learning on a brand new level of depth. So it's absolutely brand new. The other question we asked, the second question we asked was, as I remind myself, was why don't we start? Oh, this is great. Why not Shavuos? Why this time of year? What did we just celebrate? Last night, yesterday, Yom Kippur. What's Yom Kippur all about? Wiping the slate clean. What better time to start Torah with a fresh start, with a new paradigm, with a blank slate, right? Then right after Yom Kippur, when in general we're starting with a blank slate. You with me on this? In other words, paradigm shift. Shavuos, yeah, we got the Torah. It's the anniversary of Sinai. Okay, I mean that's kind of cool. I mean that's a great time of year. I'm not putting it down, but this time of year is all about renewal. It's literally all about renewal and fresh starts and new opportunities. Great. We want to study Torah with that same fresh perspective, not holding on to the baggage or the paradigms of the past. We want to start new. This is the perfect time of year to start new. Does that make sense? I love this explanation. This is great. So if just as a standalone question and answer, why are we celebrating Simchat Torah this time of year? The answer is because we're starting Torah again, and we don't want it to be the same thing. We want it to be new. This is the perfect time of year to start things new. New year, new Torah, new experience. All right, those are the first two questions. So the joy, because it's new. This time of year, because it's new, because it needs to be new. What about the third and fourth questions? To understand this, we need to add another element to our conversation. Okay, so we're going to add another idea into this conversation. And I feel like, oh, you know what? Let's read this. Let's read this in the how the Rebbe spells out this answer. What I just said about this time of year, why we start Torah right after Yom Kippur. Text number 6. David, give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. And yes, I have it. Please take it away.
Based on this, we can gain a better understanding of what we discussed above. First, a preface about the reason that Simchat Torah was not established on Shavuot, when the Torah was given, but rather shortly after Yom Kippur, when the second set of tablets was given. It is because receiving the second set of tablets as penitents was a greater cause of joy than receiving the first set of tablets as righteous Jews on Shavuot. This helps us understand our subject. After we fast and are forgiven on Yom Kippur, we are spiritually renewed. Therefore, when shortly after Yom Kippur we complete our cycle of Torah study, we are empowered to begin the next cycle on an entirely new level.
I love that. Thank you.
I actually like the first explanation better.
Which one? And the first paragraph? The
Yeah,
tablets, the first versus second.
Second
Yeah,
set.
right. Shavuot is when Moses first got the tablets. Yom Kippur is when he got the second set of tablets. The first set of tablets were perfect until they were broken. The second set of tablets represents the idea of tshuva, the idea of coming back, which is also joy, a reunion, right? After a gap, after a separation, that reunion is going to be with much greater joy than had there never been. Okay, I'll just say it in English. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Just the way it is, right? So when there's a gap, so all right. So now let's get to the last few questions. But first, let me share this. When you look at the Shachianu blessing, we say a few different. We say 3 things: Shachianu, V'kiyamanu, V'higiyanu. Now, what did those mean? So we had. Let me just pull this up in the text. This was text number 3. So we thank God. Bless God. We thank God who has granted us life. Shachianu, like Chai. Shachianu, Chai. He's given us life. Kiyamanu, sustained us. Vigiyanu, and allowed us to reach this occasion. Great. So let me explain. I'll share with you the Hasidic interpretation of the first 2. We could really do all 3, but I just want to focus on the first 2. The difference between Shachianu and Vikiyamanu. Thank you, God, for giving us life and for sustaining us. What's the difference? Life and sustenance. Shachianu, Kiyamanu. Something similar. So what does it really mean? So to understand this, it's important to understand the nature of Torah itself. The nature of Torah. Torah is not just about telling us what to do in a synagogue or telling us how to do a mitzvah. Torah is really, I might even say primarily, I don't want to get in trouble, primarily about telling us what to do in those in-between times. Because the truth is, most of our lives are lived not in those mitzvah moments. If you think about it, how many hours a day are we doing a mitzvah? I don't know, 1 hour, like total. It's like you watch a football game. Speaking of football, right? Watch a football game. How much time are they actually playing? Right? It's like they start a play, they bash each other, it's over in like 10 seconds. And then there's like a little while between plays, and they do it again. If you compress all of the plays, right? You have like games are like about 3 hours ish. How much actual playing time is there? I don't know. You think it's 7? Really? That's crazy. So when they watch game film, they can watch a whole game.
Just in terms of actions, it doesn't count.
Right. 7 minutes. That's crazy. So when Tom Brady and others watch game film, if they're just watching, it doesn't actually take that long to watch game film. I mean, unless you break it down or whatever. That's interesting. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Whole game or just for a quarter?
Whole game.
7 minutes for a whole.
That's wild.
So you realize somebody's gonna come up with an idea. Heck, 8 games to do on 8 times 7 is an hour.
That's it. You're gonna maximize your time and get as much football in. Baseball's the same thing. I mean, yeah, baseball's the same thing. I mean, how much time is there from when the ball's pitched to when the play is over? Also, not that long, right? I mean, it's not that much time. So life is the same way. I mean, how much time are we doing things that are like spiritual, or I mean, that's an open-ended word, but like, mitzvah oriented? It's, I don't know. Or even thinking life, just so much of life is preparing for things that are preparing for things. Like we shop so that we can cook, so that we can, there's so much time that's spent like getting ready for the thing gets ready for the thing that gets ready for the thing. And then we sit down and then the kid knocks the thing over. It's just whatever. But like, right. It's like so much time is spent in the accessories. And the truth is, that's what Torah is all about. Torah is not just about telling us what to do in those 7 minutes of action, but it's telling us how to live our lives in those other ways. To shop like a mensch, to work like a mensch, to carpool like a mensch. What do I mean? Honest and ethical and kind and gracious. Be a good person as we're doing all the other stuff. Torah is not just about how to wrap tefillin and put a mezuzah on your tefillin. It's also about how to live your life like a mensch, like a Torah person. And according to Chassidic understanding, that's the meaning of shechiyanu v'kiyamanu with regard to Torah. Torah is shechiyanu. Torah is our life. It tells us how to do the mitzvot. Shechiyanu. V'kiyamanu means how to live the other 23 hours. Not just the 1 hour a day in which we're game time, Torah mitzvah time, Torah study and mitzvah observance, an hour maybe a day, or give or take, prayer time. But like what to do in the other hour, in the other time, that's v'kiyamanu. Shechiyanu, Torah tells us Torah gives us life, tells us what to do when we're doing Torah mitzvot. But v'kiyamanu, it also tells us how to live. And that's why Simchat Torah, to answer question number 3, is not just for the scholar, not just for the academic. Torah is for everyone, because everyone can be inspired by Torah, even if you're not 24/7 a scholar. If you're a business person, great. Torah is for you. Torah can tell you how to work and how to do business honestly and ethically, like a Jew should. And that's why, again, Simchat Torah is not just for the rabbis, not just for the scholars, not just for the academics, not just for those that are dedicated to Torah study 24/7. Torah is for everyone. Why? Simchat Torah and Torah is for everyone, because Torah has a message, not just for the 1 hour, not just for those times, but for the rest of life as well. And that's why we don't open up the Torah on Simchat Torah and give lengthy lectures. We don't give drushes. We don't give sermons on Simchat Torah, at least not coherent ones. The reason is because, and we keep it closed. The message is that Torah is meant to be with us as we go through our lives, everything, as we dance through life. Torah has a message for us. Torah informs us how to live our lives, not just in those synagogue mitzvah moments, but in the rest of the moments of our lives. And that is the meaning of the dancing with the Torah, with it closed. It's not just the study, but it's the impact on the rest of our lives as well. Now, of course, you got to study for it to have an impact. You got to know what it says to know how it informs the rest of your life. Sure. But again, with the exception, barring the few and far between that Toraso, umnaso, that Torah is their occupation, most people, Torah is not their occupation. Most people, their occupation is something else. Torah is something you do a little bit on the side. Simchat Torah is for everyone because Torah informs everyone. Torah is meant to guide us through life as we walk through life. Torah is meant to inform us. So this answers all the questions, right? This answers, Cassette, I'll get your question in a second. This should answer all of the questions. So and the key is the Shechianu. Why do we celebrate? It seems like the same thing again. It's not meant to be the same thing again. It's a brand new cycle. We're meant to learn it on a whole new level. Why is it this time of year? It's after Yom Kippur. We have a new clean slate, brand new renewal. The old is gone, wiped away. Every great innovation happens when you take the old and get rid of it. If you're using the old model, it's going to be an iteration of the old. It's going to be an evolution, not a revolution. Right? If you take an existing product and you tweak it, you'll have a tweaked product. You want to get rid of the old. So Yom Kippur is like getting rid of the past. Brand new blank page. And now we can really study Torah on a new level. That's what we started this time of year. Then we talked about why everyone celebrates, because Torah is not meant to inform only part of our lives. It's meant to inform every part of our lives. And that's what we dance with it to indicate that it's coming down into our feet, into our lives, into even the lowest parts of our existence. Torah has a message for us. So my friends, as we get ready to celebrate the holiday of Sukkot, let's remember that this holiday is all about joy. And the true joy of this holiday, as expressed in the ultimate culmination of the holiday, the true joy lies in the connection that we have to Torah. The Torah that we have to really lift us to places we've never gone before. We could study Torah in a way that's brand new, in a way that informs us like nothing else. And it's really meant to be a life-transforming idea. Now, I was thinking in the context, of course, Amy, of your mom, I was thinking in the context of relationships. There's one thing that we know in Judaism, and that is that souls are eternal. Life is eternal. I've shared this, I heard from one of my teachers, when somebody passes away, life doesn't go anywhere. Now, the whole question of, what happens, is there life after death? It's kind of like the refrigerator asking the electricity, what happens when we disconnect? The electricity might say to the refrigerator, I don't know what happens to you, but I don't go anywhere. Right? Electricity is electricity. Life is life. A soul is a soul. At the same time, there's a bit of a new form of a relationship. And in the context of tonight's discussion, this holiday is all about pivoting almost to a new type of experience, a new type of relationship with Torah. Whatever we have a previous experience with Torah in the previous year. The idea is that Simchat Torah, we start again. And so I'm sure we're joined by everyone in offering condolences. And certainly from my heart to yours, certainly your mother is with you and with the whole family. And that connection is never lost. That connection is never gone. And please God, you should continue to give her nachas, the whole family, and with blessings. All right. Thank you all for joining tonight for the third of 3 sessions of High Holidays Unpacked. Wishing you all a Chag Sameach, a happy Sukkot, and opportunities to connect and to celebrate throughout the year. All right, Sid, anybody have some questions? I know that online some folks had questions. Pleasure. Okay, so one question is, many shuls now open a Torah scroll completely in a circle. Yeah, I've heard of that custom. I actually have not been in a synagogue that does that. That would be a new custom. When I say new, that's not from the original traditions of the custom. Yeah, it kind of throws a monkey wrench in my whole point of keeping the Torah closed and about celebrating the impact that it has on our non-scholarly lives. But it's a tradition that some have. Sukkah is supposed to have one side fully open. Some don't have doors. That means they're not kosher. Okay, so Sukkah could have 4 walls, 3 walls, or 2.5 walls. So when it comes to Sukkah, there are different ways to do it. In fact, if you look at the word Sukkah, 3 Hebrew letters, Samach, Kaf, and Hey, it represents the 3 ways of building a Sukkah. Samach is all 4, right? It's like a circle. It's all 4 sides. The Chaf is 3, and the Hey is 2 and a little bit, 2 and a little bit. So embedded in the word Sukkah is an allusion to the 3 ways that you can make a Sukkah. But of course, you need a door to get into your Sukkah, unless you're going to airlift into it. I don't know. I would not do that because then your schach is going to break. It's going to be very complicated. A tunnel, a burrowing Sukkah, I don't know that that's going to work either. So, yeah. May your Sukkahs be, and one more thing. The Sukkah, 2.5 walls, according to Kabbalah, symbolizes a hug. Because if you look at the arm in a hug, you have 1, right? When you hug someone, so you have 1, 2. In fact, according to halacha, the 3rd wall has to be 1 handbreadth, which is exactly this. So the Baal Shem Tov says, a sukkah is, hey, hello. So sukkah is the divine hug. So as we celebrate Sukkot, hopefully we all feel Hashem's hug and Hashem's love for us. And lots of blessings and lots of comfort. All right. Chag Sameach. Shana Tova. Great to see you all. Thanks for joining. And we'll see you soon. Stay tuned for a lot more Torah study in the new year. And like for tonight's class, we got to study in another level. So I guess you ain't seen nothing yet. See you guys soon. All right. Take care, everybody. Tov, David and Sid and Sandrine. Great to see you. And Jeff and Elizabeth and Eve. Good to see you all. Take care.